So I wanted to take a quick second to say thank you guys so much for all the support that you've given me over the course of these 100 episodes that we've done. I can't believe we're on episode 100 already. I never thought it would come this far, and I never thought I'd be making videos for this long on this, and everything just blew up since episode 1, and I'm just so happy that you guys like my content, and all the likes and support that you leave on my videos just makes my day every time I see them, and I just wanted to give you guys a personal thank you for everything that you've done for me, and let's just jump straight into the video. Hey, what's up guys, it's Ryan, and welcome to week number 100 of the top 5 Skyrim mods of the week. Now, we have come 100 episodes so far. I never thought that we would ever make it this far, and I couldn't have done it without you guys' support, so thank you guys so much again for that. And to give back to you guys, I've decided to make a huge load order consisting of over 130 mods. You know, I was gonna do 100, but I just kept adding, and I just got carried away, and I developed a 130 plus modded load order for you guys that works perfectly. I've done a lot of testing on it. I'm going to be running through and giving you guys a little bit of a tutorial and showing you each mod that I have and how to set it up and a little bit of what each mod does. Now, I've actually done one of these in the past where I covered about like 40 mods and I went into far detail as to what every single mod in that video did, but with 130 I can't really go into super high detail with every single mod, as then we'd be here forever. You know, I'm going to give you guys a brief little description of the mod and you guys can download it and try it out for yourself, and a lot of these I've actually covered in my previous top 5 videos, so you may recognize some of the mods that I have listed here. So on the left side of the screen, I'm going to display the load order as I go through it, and on the right side of the screen, we're going to have me playing through with the mods that are featured in this load order. So you'll be able to see how the game runs, and I want to let you guys know that I'm running on an Xbox One X right now, so any other consoles that you guys are on, or if you're on PC, I'm sure it runs perfectly fine on PC, probably even better. A little disclaimer before I actually get into the load order is I've played around 6 to 7 hours using every single one of these mods, and it's worked very well. I've only run into a crash once or twice and no other glitches. It wasn't too bad at all. So if your game does crash, be sure to just load it up, be patient. You know, mods on console are a blessing as of right now because almost no other game has it, and we're lucky enough to be able to have these mods on here. And if you run into a crash from time to time, it's not that big of a deal. I also want to say that the mods that I'm featuring in here will also be in the description, so if you don't want to follow through the entire video, you can go into the description and read them all through there. That being said, let's just jump straight into this huge load order. Starting off at the top of our load order, we have the Unofficial Skyrim Edition patch. I'm pretty sure everyone that's played with mods knows about the Unofficial patch, so just make sure that's at the top of your load order, because whenever we start editing the difficulty settings later on in the load order, this is a mod that is a must-have. Next up, we have the Unofficial Arcane Accessories and the Dwarven Armored Mudcrab patch. Now, if you don't have this in the Creation Club, don't worry about downloading these patches, but if you do have the Arcane Accessories and the Dwarven Armored Mudcrab, get these patches, because whenever you first start into the game, you'll automatically be given the Arcane Accessories and the quest for the Dwarven Armored Mudcrab. With this mod, it allows you to find it in the world, and it makes it more of a quest on its own for you to go out and find, not to automatically have to go and seek out. Then we have the 60 FPS menus. This mod basically just makes it so whenever you're going through your inventory, it's a lot faster and a lot cleaner, and you can select things a lot more quicker. Now we have the font overhaul, the natural typeface, which makes it so whenever you're reading books, whenever you're looking through the menus, you know, anything that has text on the screen, it's going to be a different font, and it looks way nicer, and I really like that. Then we have the menus of Skyrim, Alduin's Doom, which adds a new 4K HD theme to the main menu, along with a new high quality audio track. Then we have the TESG Loadscreen replacer. Now, every time you go through a door, it's not just going to show a picture of someone in armor. It's not just going to show a black screen with smoke. It's going to have a nice, beautiful picture that is hand painted by some of the best artists out there. And there's over 205 different high resolution load screens. So there's a lot of load screens in the game. Just makes it so you're not just staring at a black screen all day. Then we have the Sound of Skyrim Complete. Now, there is 3 different mods that go together that you can have here, but the smaller version, Sound of Skyrim Complete, combines all 460 sound effects in the game, including from dungeons, towns and villages, and even wilderness sounds, all in one mod, and you can use it all for 128 megabytes, which is very good considering the fact that combining all the other ones was a little over 128. So this mod just makes it nice and condensed and makes it have one separate mod. Next up, we have the cheat room. Now, I use the cheat room not necessarily to cheat during my playthrough, but it's if I get stuck on something. Say a animation won't play and I'm stuck in a quest forever, you can fix that with the cheat room, with the scripts. And you can also make it so if you get stuck in a corner, corner, say you're jumping around trying to get up to a mountain and you fall down and you can't get out and you can't fast travel, then you could cheat teleport and get out of there and just teleport to a different location rather than reloading a save. Then we have the color patches remover, which is a very small patch with the Unofficial Skyrim patch that just gets rid of those orange blocks that are somewhere around the map sometimes. Very small fix, but it's worth it in the end. Then we have the dynamic camera, which makes it so you can customize your camera to be able to focus on whatever part that you want. Say you're standing still, you want it to be on your right shoulder, boom, you can make it on your right shoulder while you're standing still. Or when you're using a bow, you can make it so it's right over your right shoulder or right over your left shoulder, and you can aim properly with a bow, as opposed to the vanilla Skyrim where using a bow is pretty much useless in third person. Then we have the SkyHUD Oblivion preset, which I've covered in several different videos. It basically just moves your HUD to the bottom left corner of the screen, where your health, magicka, and fatigue are all in one separate area, just like it was in Oblivion, and your map's also on the bottom. And you also have a dot as a crosshair, which I actually prefer over the other crosshair. Then we have the quality world map. I've also covered this in pretty much every single one of my load order videos. The world map is very vivid, and it makes it so that just going into your world map is a lot better than going into it previously. And then we move on to some of the game-changing ones, such as Imperious, the races of Skyrim. And I always thought, depending on what type of race that you choose in vanilla Skyrim, it doesn't really make too much of a difference in the end game. But whenever you do it in here, Bretons, Bosmer, Argonians, Altmer, Imperials, whatever you choose, has their own specific traits that make them them. And they get huge bonuses from certain activities, depending on what race you choose. So it just makes it so choosing a race is now a more important choice in Skyrim. Then we have Aurora, Standing Stones of Skyrim, which just buffs the Standing Stones to be way better to use, and a lot of them have a huge benefit. As you can only have one Standing Stone at a time, it might as well be a powerful perk, so that'll just change the Standing Stones of Skyrim to make them way better. Then we have Apocalypse Magic of Skyrim, which adds 155 new spells with high quality custom effects and animations. You can't go wrong with adding new spells into the game, so that's just a must-have right off the bat. Then we have Ordinator Perks of Skyrim, which is a very popular perk overhaul that changes pretty much every perk in the game and adds over 400 new ones as well. Then we have the Apocalypse and Ordinator Compatibility patch, which is needed if you're going to use these two mods together. And since we're using Ordinator and having 400 new perks, I would also like to have 50 more perk points, so every 2 levels you'll receive an additional one. That's what this mod does. And then we also have the perk points at levels 50, 75, and 100, so whenever you get a skill to level 50, 75, or 100, you'll get a bonus perk. It just makes it so whenever you're leveling up and actually building your character, you have more of an option to choose more of these 400 perks that have been added in the game, rather than not have any perks and still be at level 80 and barely have any of them unlocked. Then we have the Summermyst Enchantments of Skyrim, which adds 120 new enchantments into the game, so you also can't go wrong with that. Next up, we have the Complete Archery Overhaul, which makes archery as a whole completely more fun to use and a whole lot more realistic as well. Then we have Immersive Hunting, which features a whole bunch of new crafting items into the game and more potions, and whenever you go hunting and actually kill animals, you'll be able to harvest more from the animals that you kill rather than just the meat and hide. You'll be able to get eyes, lungs, antlers, everything along those lines. It's just immersive hunting, makes it a whole lot more realistic and makes it worthwhile hunting. And that being said, worthwhile hunting, better pelt prices as well, so whenever you go out and actually go hunting, you'll be able to sell the pelts that you get from hunting for way more expensive, because hunting in general in the vanilla Skyrim wasn't worth it at all because pelts weren't worth anything. But this mod makes it so if you want to roleplay as a hunter, then you actually can make a life doing that. Then we have werewolf loot, which basically just makes it so you can access containers whenever you're in werewolf mode. Very, very useful. Then we have big, more kill moves and decapitations. You can't go wrong with that. It makes your kill move chance increase from 50 to 75% and makes it so you can cut off people's heads from level 1 and doesn't have any more restrictions on that. If you're going to get a good kill move, then you might as well have this mod, because this mod just makes it way more badass to be taking out more enemies. We have Faction Pitfighter and Faction Pitfighter Travels, which are the quest mod and a quest add-on that just makes it so you have the arena in the game. You have a whole new faction to join and way more quests to complete and a little bit of an arena game mode, and I really like that, and I have yet to play that on my channel, and I plan on doing that in future videos. Then we have Relicment, which is another quest mod that sends you across Skyrim in 15 new quests about stopping a group of bandits known as the Black Diamond Pact from obtaining a powerful staff called Ice Stiff. So those are just a couple of the quest mods that I added into the game. Then we have Skooma Dealers of Skyrim, which adds a whole new drug system to Skyrim, and there's also a new place on the map that you can go and bust a whole bunch of drug dealers and get a huge amount of money. I covered this in a previous mod episode recently, and it was a really cool mod, you know, and if you take the drugs that are featured in the mod itself, they have little special effects that you could do, and it's kind of like Fallout. Whenever you pump Jet and it slows down the game, you could pump, let's say, Hiss Sap or Feldew, and you'll have, you know, certain boosts to your stats, and I like that a lot. So moving on, we have Shady Merchants, which goes right along with the Skooma Dealers of Skyrim, and Shady Merchants adds new merchants into the game with questionable goods, and you can also sell stolen goods too, so you can actually find people in the world instead of going into the Thieves Guild that will take stolen goods. Now we have Missives, which is another semi-quest mod that adds a missives board to every single hold that is in the game, and you can walk up to it at any time and get any Radiant quest that you would like. And then we have Blackjack, which is a real simple mod that allows you to play the card game of Blackjack with the innkeepers in every city. Next up, we have Radiant Quest Marker SE, the unofficial Skyrim edition patch version, and this mod's very simple as well. Just whenever you get a Radiant quest, it'll let you know that it's Radiant by telling you with the Radiant sign. Then we have Rested Rebalance, which is basically a stat boost whenever you rest in a bed, because in vanilla Skyrim you didn't really get that big of a stat boost whenever you did rest in a bed. And then we have Portable Arrow Crafting, which allows you at the forge to craft a portable arrow crafting kit, and then whenever you're out and about in your travels, you can craft them wherever you are. It's like a crafting station that you can take with you. And along those lines, we have Pottery Crafting as well, which allows you to craft a whole bunch of different decorative pottery goods for your house to display. Keeping along with the crafting side of things, we have Make Junk Useful, which is a mod that allows you to melt down junk that you find around the wasteland, such as silver bowls, silver goblets, silver plates and platters, kind of like in Fallout. Whenever you go back to the workshop and you can just, you know, scrap all your items, that's pretty much what you can do in here with the smelter in Skyrim. Next up is Realistic Food Quality and Price, which changes the prices of all foods, and whenever you cook food, you don't just get one of it, you'll get like 2 or 3 of it, because who just makes one bowl of soup for themselves? I never really understood that whenever you're cooking in the vanilla Skyrim. So this one will make it so whenever you do cook soup or any type of, you know, different type of food item, you'll get more than just one. Then we have Skyrim Reading Xbox One and Unread Books Glow, which is 2 amazing mods. Skyrim Reading basically adds 50 extra books that someone wrote into the world that are super lore friendly and just fit into the vanilla world of Skyrim. And then Unread Books Glow make it so if you're collecting books, you can see them glowing around the world that you haven't read yet, or if you just want to make it so skill books will glow, you'll be able to pick out the skill books on shelves rather than having to read every single book, wondering, hey, is this one a skill book? Is this one a skill book? So that's very useful as well. Placeable Statics is a mod that is a must-have if you really like customizing your house, because it allows you to pick up furniture and move it around. I've done a separate video on it. I'll leave it in the description and you guys can check that out where I go into more detail on that. Then we have the Old Kingdom Weapon Overhaul. We're moving on to the Weapon Overhaul and Armory Overhaul mod section now, and the Old Kingdom Weapon Overhaul adds 60 unique weapons that are just placed into the game seamlessly, along with overhauling the different textures in the game as well. Then we have Scoped Bows, which makes it so your bows have scopes, which is a really awesome thing to have, and it's really awesome to use whenever you actually make them and go into caves and you're clearing them out with the scopes. It's just really awesome to have on your bows, so that's just a must-have there. Then we have Blackjack, which is a weapon that you can craft that will knock anyone out if you are sneak attacking them. Very useful for the Thieves Guild. If you're going through and you don't actually want to kill anyone, you can hit them while hidden with this weapon and they will go unconscious until you leave, and I just find that really, really useful, and I've never seen a mod like that. Then we have Swordbreaker, which is a just really badass looking dagger that you can make. It has 4K textures and not really much more to explain on there. And now we have the Royal Armory, which makes it so really important NPCs aren't just carrying around a normal sword. You know, the people that are really important, such as Ulfric Stormcloak, or, you know, the leader of the Companions, or Jarl Balgruuf, anyone that is important in the game will have their own unique weapon. And this doesn't just mean that you can kill them and take the weapon. Sometimes you can't even do that. It just makes the game a lot more realistic to know that the people you're fighting alongside isn't just a normal random dude. They have their own sword, and they're a really important person. Very simple mod, but I like it. Moving on, we have the Dawnguard Arsenal, which basically just overhauls the Dawnguard weapons and makes it so you can craft way more. And then multiple rings is basically what it says. It allows you to have more than one ring on at one time. Very useful for enchantments. Being able to have multiple enchantments on rings and then wearing more than one ring definitely makes your character a whole lot better. Then we have reinforced clothing, which makes it so you can wear your perfectly good clothing but be armored as well, as long as you bring it over to a leather crafting station. Then we have the black leather sheath, which is a very tiny mod that changes your sheath to be black instead of like a brown color whenever you're using the darker types of armors. The original sleeving Skyrim makes it so the people that are wearing armor in Skyrim have sleeves instead of just open shoulders to be swung at and have their arms cut off. Just very stupid in the vanilla game of Skyrim how open these people are. But the original sleeving of Skyrim, and Skyrim's a really cold place too, I've always noticed. So the sleeves of Skyrim just makes it a little more realistic and makes armors a lot more realistic as well, so that's a must-have mod. Better dressed NPCs is just exactly what it says. It makes all the NPCs in the game a lot more better dressed in every city. And we have the Dova Kindred clothes moving along with keeping the NPCs nicely dressed. We have the kids that can now wear 19 new sets of clothes as opposed to like 1 or 2 different sets. Skyrim Outfitters Backpacks adds backpacks into the game that you can craft at the tanning rack, and you can also upgrade them once you craft them. There's a small, a medium, and a large that goes up to 100 points of carry weight. Moving on, we have cloaks and capes, which I'm sure many of you have downloaded before. Basically just makes it so you can wear a cloak or a cape, and the NPCs in the game as well will be wearing these cloaks and capes, and it just makes them look really cool. Daedric is Magic is a mod that makes the Daedric armor have a red glow effect, and I think that's really cool. And then we have the Morrowind Armor Compilation Complete, which adds a whole bunch of new crafting items into the game, along with 9 entirely new armor and weapon sets that are seamlessly added into the game, so NPCs that you find in the game will also be wearing them. And then we have improved closed-faced helmets, which makes it so whenever people are wearing a helmet, you'll be able to see their eyes, as opposed to having their face completely hidden. Then we have lockpicking interface redone, which makes it so whenever you go to lockpick, it just looks a lot different and a lot more cleaner, and it uses more high-resolution textures. Then we have ESO Sky Shards, which adds the Sky Shards from Elder Scrolls Online into Skyrim in a whole bunch of different locations, and they work exactly in the same way. If you find 3 of them on your travels, you'll be able to get 1 free perk point. So you can't go wrong with that either, especially with Ordinator having all these new perks. Then we have Point the Way, which makes the road signs in Skyrim look a lot better. Also along the lines of simple environmental changes, we have the Hold Border banners, which adds banners to all the cities in Skyrim. And the Unique Bridges of Skyrim as well adds a bunch of new bridges that cross over rivers in the game. Then we have Forgotten Dungeons, which adds 49 new Radiant Quest-enabled dungeons into the game, along with Easier Riders Dungeon Pack, which adds 7 more dungeons on top of that, and they're very compatible together, so there's a whole bunch of new areas to explore. Next up, we have Magical College of Winterhold, Magical Staffs and Staves, and Immersive Winterhold College NPCs, which overhaul the complete experience of Winterhold. I always thought Winterhold was such a lame place in the vanilla game of Skyrim, but with these mods enabled, it overhauls what it looks like, makes it so it's a huge college with a whole bunch of new perks, such as scroll crafting that you can do here, and staff making, and, studying. It actually feels like a college. I always make the assumption with all the animal heads everywhere and all the hay everywhere that the college is just a barn in the vanilla game of Skyrim. Like, it doesn't actually feel like a college, but with these mods, it'll actually feel like a college for you. Then we have Hearthfire Homes, which basically improves the Hearthfire homes in the game to look better. Then we have Scholar's Library, which redoes every single player home in the game to have a library installed in it, and this library holds every single book in the game. Now, it doesn't automatically give you every single book in the game. You have to actually go out and find them, and it'll actually order them on the shelf as you find them. So if you're a collector and you want to collect all the books, this is definitely a mod for you. Staying along the topic of books in the library, we have the Seaside Library, which adds a library or a bookstore featuring almost all the books from the previous Elder Scrolls games, along with all the purchasable books from Skyrim. Then we have the Great City of Solitude, which is a huge exterior Solitude overhaul that adds a whole bunch of new docks, new buildings, new NPCs. It just pretty much transforms Solitude into a whole new city. Then we have Breeze Home Basement, which basically makes it so that the Breeze Home has a basement that has the crafting stations in them. Rather than having to walk all the way around Whiterun to go to all your different crafting stations, if you have Breeze Home, it has all the crafting stations in it. Moving on, there's Lampposts of Skyrim, which is very simple and just adds lampposts to the roads of Skyrim. And now we have the weather changing mods, such as Eternal Sunshine, Surreal Lighting, Far Better Sun, Enhanced Night, just making it so that the weathers in Skyrim are great. You know, Eternal Sunshine makes it so it's more sunny all the time, and it'll still rain from time to time, but just not frequently. It will be sunny most of the time, and I really like that, especially combining it with surreal lighting, which alters the contrast, the brightness, and the saturation for the outdoors. It's just a huge combination, along with far better sun, that just make the weathers in Skyrim and the beautiful weather perfect. And the same goes for Enhanced Night. Whenever it's nighttime, the nighttime sky will actually look a lot better than the vanilla version, and you'll be able to actually see the galaxies and the different stars in the skies, and I really like being able to see that. Now we have the graphic overhauls. I'm going to be going over these really quickly because these are huge, and I'm pretty sure everyone has at least tried out some of these one time. There's the Skyrim graphic overhaul, then the Skyrim graphic overhaul part 2, then we have Skyland 1K, Skyland Whiterun, Skyland Whiterun Cobblestone, and then the GT's Gardens of Skyrim. Then we have Skyland's Towns of Villages, their HD road signs, just everything is overhauled. All the different textures in the game have been completely overhauled with all these mods, so make sure they're in this order because these are the mods that are the most important to have in order, are the graphic overhauls. If you don't put these in the right order, then it can cause a lot of crashes and just a lot of bad things to happen to your game. So if you're taking anything out of this, just make sure that your graphic overhauls are in this order. Moving on, we have some of my favorite mods in the game, such as Enhanced Light and Effects and ELFX Hardcore. This mod makes it so that all light sources emit light, and there's candle smoke effects, there's water reflections, there's different types of effects to make the lights and the effects in the game a lot more realistic. And with the hardcore version, it makes it so interiors are a lot darkened, and the inside of all non-inhabitable caves are completely dark, making it so you have to have a torch in these caves. You know, the caves in Skyrim aren't going to be automatically lit up for you anymore. They're all going to be completely pitch black, and the only way to get around seeing is to be carrying a torch, and that's my favorite part about that mod, and I've been waiting for this mod to come to console forever, and I'm just so happy that it's here. Then we have some patches for it, such as ELFX no fake light under doors, which makes it so that there's no light underneath the doors. It's very simple to explain there. Then the patch for the Magical College of Winterhold for the enhanced light and effects, bringing it all together. Now, something that I noticed about the hardcore version of the enhanced light and effects is whenever you're in caves, you'll be able to see dust everywhere. And the vanilla texture for dust is very blocky, so I decided to download the dust effects mod, which makes it way better looking whenever you're going through caves. It's not just like snow in caves anymore. That's what I felt like it was whenever it was pitch black. It looked like it was snowing. That's how like thick the dust was. But with this mod, it makes it so that the dust is a lot more realistic looking, and it just brings it all together in one mod. Then we have brighter torches, which simply makes it so that torches give off a brighter and warmer light rather than the previous versions. Then we have HD unique handmade signs, which changes all of the signs for all of the shops in the game to have their own unique sign outside of it, rather than it just having a picture of a scale for a general goods store. Every little shop has their own unique sign, and I really like that being unique. Next up, we have detailed rugs, which just changes all the rugs to have a more high quality texture. And then there's radiant unique potions and poisons, which is one of my favorite mods that overhauls potions and poisons because every single different potion in the game looks different. Every single one, whether it's a unique potion of healing or a unique poison or anything you craft is going to have its own unique texture. That's why the mod is so big, and it just adds a whole bunch of variety into the game whenever you're using potions. And then there's Anid Septums, which makes it so that the gold in the game is now referred to as septums, and they have a little bit more of an HD texture. Now we have enhanced blood textures, which just makes all the blood in combat in the game way more gruesome, and there's pools of blood, and it's an amazing mod to have. Just make sure you download that one, if any of them. Moving up, we have the difficulty overhauls. Now, I'm not actually going to go into too much detail as to how these make the game so much more difficult. Just think along the lines of whenever we download haste or elegy difficulty and balance, along with all these patches here, it just makes the game a lot more harder because the economy is overhauled to be more realistic. You also have, combat is way more realistic. Enemies do more damage than normal, stuff along that lines. Not anything that's just gonna make you completely hate the game because it's too hard, but it does make the game significantly more difficult. And that's what I personally like. I like a game that has a challenge, and I definitely am being challenged and tested with my Skyrim skills throughout my playthrough here. And those mods in combination are Haste, Elegy Difficulty and Balance, Elegy Misc Crafting Experience, Elegy Restoration Potion Duration, and the Ordinator patch. Now we have the Get Immersive Cheats, which is not really necessarily a cheat mod. It's more of a immersive mod that makes the game a little more convenient. There's new alchemy tables, enchanting tables, and fire hazards to 12 interior locations. And it's just a whole bunch of small tweaks in the game. And the main reason that I downloaded this, with this mod, if you go to the Candle Hearth Hall in Windhelm, you guys know that that candle is at the top that burns forever, even though every candle burns forever in Skyrim. But there's a story about a candle in Candle Hearth Hall that burns forever. And with this mod, it'll allow you to actually walk up to that candle and burn your torch over the eternal flame, making it so that your torch will burn forever. And I really wanted that in my game since I didn't have wearable lanterns. I didn't want to have to carry around torches forever, and I didn't feel like it would be fair if I just downloaded a mod that would make it so my torches just automatically burned forever. I wanted to have a little bit of a story behind it. So that's the main reason I downloaded this mod. It's not really a must-have, but if you want some environment tweaks here and there and, you know, something that's a little more convenient for you, then this is the mod for you. Then we have Enhanced Atronach, which just changes the Atronach's stats in the game and make him a little more harder, along with Millhail monsters and animals, adds a whole bunch of new bosses and 3 Dwarven Colossuses in the game, which are ridiculously hard to fight. I haven't fought one yet, but they are huge and they have so much health, and it just makes it so that there's more bosses in Skyrim. And speaking of bosses, we have another mod called Boss Encounters of Skyrim. I really wanted to have bosses in the game because whenever you're going through different caves, the best bosses you're gonna get are like nothing like super crazy over the top hard to beat boss. And that's what I really like about certain video games, is whenever you get to the boss and it's like ridiculously hard, but then you finally do it and you just feel amazing afterwards. Like, that's my favorite part about boss fights and everything like that. So I downloaded some mods to make it so boss encounters are more frequent and there's more bosses added into the game to fight. Now we have the companion mod of Inigo. This is the only one I decided to go with because he's by far one of the best follower mods out there, with his own unique, you know, dialogue that he can say, and he can follow you in all your travels, and he'll make a whole bunch of different comments about the stuff that you do in your travels. Just, it's a must-have follower mod. Then we have Better Horses, which basically overhauls how horses work in the game and makes them essential so that they can't die. So buying a horse in Skyrim is actually worth it. Now we have Real Wildlife and Beasts of Tamriel, which add more and more and more animals. I can't even explain to you how many animals have been added into the game with these two mods combined. 490 new variants of natural wildlife, along with new beasts that have been added and new giants to fight and different creatures to come across in Skyrim. Whether they're big or small, you can find them in Beasts of Tamriel. Now we're moving on to the smaller NPC tweaks, such as buyable Golden Claw, which just makes it a little bit more immersive for after you find the Golden Claw, you can actually ask to buy it off of him rather than just steal it from him. Then we have improved adoptions, which makes adopting children in the game a lot more worthwhile, and the kids won't just hang out in your house all day. They'll actually hang out in the cities and they'll play, they'll run around the streets and they'll find other kids to play, and it just makes it a lot more immersive. Then we have immersive patrols, which basically just adds guard patrols throughout the different holds, and they go in between the holds, escorting different prisoners and different cargo. Now we have the guard dialogue overhaul, which makes it so guards aren't just boring characters anymore. They actually have their own little dialogue sequences, and they'll actually talk to you rather than just looking like a robot. Then we have the relationship dialogue overhaul, which is a huge overhaul to the way that NPCs work in the game, and adds over 5,000 new lines of completely voiced dialogue for NPCs and more than 50 different voice types. So this mod is definitely a must-have when it comes to changing the dialogue for NPCs. Then we have the immersive follower framework, which changes it so that you can have 3 active followers at once. You can have an animal follower, followers will now ride horses, you know, it just changes followers as a whole and makes them so they're way more realistic and way more useful to have. And with that being said, you also need the immersive follower overhaul with the RDO patch, which is right here. It just makes them compatible together so that they can run together completely seamlessly. Then we have the relationship dialogue overhaul unofficial Skyrim special edition patch, which patches it so that the mods of the relationship dialogue overhaul and the unofficial Skyrim patch are compatible together, making them work. And we have realistic conversations as well, which I'm sure many of you have probably used before if you have the relationship dialogue overhaul, because it makes it so that the NPCs won't just randomly tell you their life story whenever you walk up to them, and they'll actually talk to each other and not sound like robots, because in the vanilla game of Skyrim, sometimes they would say a sentence and then like 5 or 6 seconds would go by and then the person would respond, but that changes it so that the person will talk back and forth without any type of pause, and they won't actually seem like robots. And we also have more to say and do, which adds a small couple of side quests in Riverwood and miscellaneous dialogue with Riverwood NPCs. Then we have XP32 Maximum Skeleton, which is one of the requirements for the future mods that we have down towards the bottom. We have the Belt Faceted Quivers, which makes it so instead of having the quivers go over your shoulder, it'll actually go along your belt, making you have a lot more room. I did this specifically because we have backpacks on, and it'll allow you to have the backpack and the arrows on without them clipping through each other. Then we have the Belt Fastened Quivers for XP32 patch. And here's what we have the XP32 for. We have Beards, which is just an overhaul of all the beards in the game. Caliente's Beautiful Bodies, which changes all the bodies in the game. Then there's the Definite Beauty Pack and the Master Skin Fix, which these mods altogether just changes the males and females in the game to be a lot more high quality, and there's a lot more textures to actually go along with them and making them a lot more realistic. And then we have Alternate Start, which is the best starting mod I've ever had because everyone does not want to go through Helgen again. Everyone's been through Helgen several times in the vanilla game, and Alternate Start is just a perfect start for a character whenever you want to roleplay. You can choose however you want to start the game. Me, myself, I chose to be a patron at a local inn in Riverwood, and I started from the bottom, and I just worked my way up, did through Bleak Falls Barrow, and that's where I'm at in my playthrough right now, just continuing on from that beginning patron in Riverwood. But that being said, you can have any type of start in any type of character with this mod, so it's definitely a must-have if you're a role player. Now we have Realistic Water 2 and Skyland Watercolor for Realistic Water 2, which changes the watercolor to have a more brighter blue, and it just looks perfect. Whenever I look down at the water, whenever I'm going through Riverwood or Whiterun, it's just a perfect color and it looks beautiful. And now moving on to the last two mods in the load order, we have Proper Aiming, which makes it so that whenever you're using the bow and spells, the projectile goes towards the crosshair instead of off to the side or off in a separate direction. It'll actually go right where your crosshair is, and I really like that whenever I'm using archery. And now to top it all off, we have the FPS and kill move improver, which just improves your frames per second and enhances your kill moves by slowing them down and making them look beautiful. Now combining these mods all together give you a perfect playthrough. I'm having such a blast on my character going through here. And if you want to see more from this character, and if you want to see more gameplay from me playing with these mods, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. And if you have any mods that you'd like to add to this load order, or if you have any questions or anything along those lines, be sure to let me know in the comment section below as well. Or you can follow me on Twitter. I'll be sure to leave my Twitter in the description, and you guys can follow me on there and leave me suggestions through there as well. And hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and let me know what mods you decided to actually try out, or if you guys actually decided to download the entire load order. That would be crazy. 130 plus mods. We did it, guys. Episode 100. We did it, guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for the support you've been giving me throughout these 100 weeks, and let's keep this series going. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, and I will talk to you guys later.